Hello. Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Jefferson County's 2020 Forum for the Board of Education. We are filming this on May 12th, 2020, and it will be available for public view tomorrow, if all goes well, barring unforeseen technological glitches. The coronavirus has made us adjust our typical format. Tonight, we are using Zoom, a teleconferencing approach that allows the candidates to participate from their homes. This approach is new to the League of Women Voters and to many of our candidates, so please be patient with us. The League of Women Voters has required all candidates wishing to be part of the forum to schedule a one-on-one training session with our techno expert, Terry Thorson. The candidates appearing tonight have all taken advantage of this training. We greatly appreciate their commitment to be part of this forum. Those choosing not to participate are Gary Cable, Dan Hornbuckle, and Daniel Swisher. My name is Lynn Widmyer, and I will be the moderator for tonight's event. The League of Women Voter member you cannot see is Terry Thorson, who is managing all the cyber aspects of this forum. Before I introduce our forum participants, let me give a brief explanation of the election process. The Board of Education consists of 5 elected members. 3 of the 5 seats will be filled this election. The other 2 seats are held by incumbents who are not up for election. So we have 11 people running to fill 3 vacancies. You can vote for not more than 3. How are winners determined? Well, this is when it gets a bit complicated. State law mandates that no more than 2 people on the Board of Education come from a single magisterial district. There are 5 magisterial districts in the county. What does this mean? Let's take Shepherdstown district as an example. 5 people are running in the Shepherdstown district, but no more than 2 can be elected. So even if the 5 people from the Shepherdstown district get the highest number of votes of all 11 candidates, only the top 2 will be seated. In the Kabletown district, there is a current sitting school board member who is not up for re-election. 2 people are running in this election from Kabletown, but no more than 1 can be seated because there is already a member from Kabletown on the board. It's a bit confusing, but this approach assures geographic diversity on the school board. The district of each candidate is identified on the ballot to the right of their name. The ballot does include a brief recap of this process in case you need a refresher course. The agenda for tonight's forum will begin with each candidate giving a 1-minute overview about themselves or on any topic they wish to talk about. We will then move to a question and answer period. Typically, we ask the audience to ask questions, but we cannot do that tonight, so League of Women Voter members have prepared the questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. We will conclude the forum with a 2-minute closing statement by each candidate. As we mentioned to you before, we will let you know when your time is up, and please finish your thought at that time. I will start the introductory statements in the order candidates appear on the ballot, and then rotate through for subsequent questions. Let's get underway with candidate Wendy Lochner from the Shepherdstown district. Ms. Lochner, you have 1 minute to introduce yourself to the voters.
Thank you. My name's Wendy Whitehair-Lochner, and I am a native of Jefferson County. I've lived here over 45 years. And I'm a product of Jefferson County Schools and very excited right now that I have been interim school board member for the last couple of months. And I have so much enjoyed working with the board, getting to know education on that side. My background is in education. I was a teacher in Jefferson County Schools. I taught special education at North Jefferson Elementary as well as at Charlestown Middle School as a special education teacher. And then after my career in education in Jefferson County, I was hired at the West Virginia Department of Education, where I spent over 10 years working as a response to intervention specialist, as well as a school improvement coordinator, turning around low-performing schools all across the state of West Virginia. Currently today, I'm Vice President of To Teach, an inclusive education company based in Los Angeles, California, and we provide education services. So all of this background has served me very well, and I'm happy to, and hopefully will be your candidate of choice. Thank you.
We will now move on to David Morreale. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did.
Who is also from the Shepherdstown district. Mr. Morreale, you have 1 minute to tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is David Morreale. I am actually very new to the county. My wife and I moved here in July of 2018. And we moved here with our 2 little boys, one of which is in 2nd grade and one of which will be coming into kindergarten, and then there's an unscheduled appearance, one of which will be entering kindergarten in the next 2 years. So I have a vested interest in doing my best to improve the system as best I can. I have to talk to these nice people. Give me a second. Sorry, folks. I've been a... Can you take him out? You have to take him out. This is a bad spray from the ground. Go talk to mommy and see if mommy can help you. I'm sorry, mommy can help you. It looks okay. Sorry about that, everyone. Thus my reason for wanting to be on the school board. So very sorry about that. I am a strong believer in becoming a member of the school board for the same reason I became a teacher in the first place, which is my concern for students. I am a believer in supporting teachers because I believe that teacher-centered systems create student-centered classrooms. And so I'm a believer, thank you, I'm a believer in equity over equality. I think equality refers to the same opportunity for all students. I think we need equity, which concentrates on giving the necessary supports to individual students. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Morreale. Our next candidate is Mark Osbourn, also from the Shepherdstown district. Mr. Osbourn, please tell us about yourself.
Good evening. I'm Mark Osbourn, a lifelong resident of Jefferson County. I have a diverse background in education. I was a teacher for 15 years and a principal for 23 years at C.W. Shipley in Harpers Ferry. This is my 8th year serving on the Board of Education. I currently serve as Vice President of the Board of Education. I think experience counts, and I think we're going to need experience to navigate uncharted waters here as we progress through this next year.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Erin Bajada. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, that's right.
She is from the Shepherdstown district, and Erin, you have 1 minute.
All right. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting this virtual forum in the wake of COVID. I'm Erin Bajada. I moved here in 2016, and I'm running for Board of Education because our county needs more motivated and passionate people in local government to make positive change. I care deeply about Jefferson County, and I want to dedicate myself to making our education system better. I firmly believe that providing greater education will uplift our entire county, beginning with supporting our teachers. I wouldn't be here today without the wonderful teachers I have had in my life. I'm a mother, an organic farmer, I'm a small business owner, I'm a student of education, and I have spent many years providing services to children, teens, and young adults with special needs. I am at my core a nurturer, and it is so important to have citizens on the board that truly care about this community. Our county's greatest resources are people, and I hope to be a voice that puts our children's education first. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Regina Carrigan, and she is running from the Kabletown district. Ms. Kerrigan, tell us about yourself. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Regina Carrigan. I'm a mom of 3. I have a 3.5-year-old son and a set of twin girls aged 8. They are second graders at South Jefferson Elementary, normally South Jefferson. I grew up in Charlestown. I attended every grade, K through 12, here in Jefferson County Public Schools. For the past year and a half, I've been a stay-at-home mom. Prior to that, I was a business owner. I owned Billy's Cafe in Ranson for 5 years. Prior to moving back to Jefferson County 8 years ago, I lived in Northern Virginia, Pittsburgh, and Seattle, working in copy editing and copywriting. Looking toward the future, I hope to have an active part in helping all students reach their potential. That means making sure they have clean air and water, making sure that we are lessening the impact of adverse childhood experiences, and also improving our facilities, making sure we're getting off on the right foot with our technology and facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Donna Joy, who is from the Shepherdstown district. Ms. Joy, you have 1 minute.
Hi, thank you for hosting this, and thank you everyone that's joining us. I'm in my daughter's room and she just walked in. I thought that I would share some of my qualifications. I have bachelor's degrees in elementary ed and math, master's degrees in special ed and psychology, and my PhD is in educational measurement, statistics, research, and evaluation. This allows me the ability to analyze data and research and statistics, which I believe that we really need right now on the board. I have been teaching for 33 years. I taught special ed for 15 years, and then I taught special ed math. I currently teach math in the Jefferson County school system. I've been teaching here for 8 years. I started teaching at the college level in 2001, so I've been teaching at the college level for 19 years. So I'm very experienced in online education. I actually wrote a book, Instructors Transitioning from Face-to-Face to Online Education. And by the way, I cannot see if he's holding up the timer.
Oh, yeah, your time is up if you just want to finish your
Oh,
sentence.
I'm sorry, because I can't see because I lost the screen. So my time is up.
Yeah.
Did you say that? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Amanda Godlove, who is from the Harpers Ferry district. And you have 1 minute, Ms. Godlove.
Thank you. Welcome, folks. I really appreciate y'all having us out tonight. I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Amanda Godlove. I am a mom of 2 boys, ages 8 and 9, as well as a small business owner myself. Previously, I'd worked in corporate America, and I'm hoping that some of those skills can transition over to working on the board and advocating for not just our families, but our teachers and all the citizens of Jefferson County. Part of my goal is to make things easier, increase communication with our families, as well as with the citizens. One of the things that is also key is ensuring that every child has a successful school experience with Jefferson County. And that may not look the same for every child, and that's okay. I want to be able to work with each family, teachers, administrators, to ensure that every one of those children can be successful, whatever that success looks like for that child and their family. So again, thank you for today, and I'm looking forward to answering some more questions.
Thank you. If you could not, is Donna the only one that cannot see the magic red sign? Because Donna, I'll give you a heads up when your time is up. So, okay. We'll now begin the question and answer portion of the forum. Remember, you will have 1 minute for your answer and finish your thoughts when your time is up. Our first question.
We need to. Barbara Fuller needs to give her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeez, I'm so sorry. I don't see you on the screen. So Barbara Fuller is from the Middleway district. And Ms. Fuller, tell us about yourself.
Good evening and thank you. Well, to start off, I am the wife of a retired Air Force tech sergeant who now works for FEMA. I have 4 children ranging in ages from 30 to 15, with my youngest being just finishing her sophomore year at the high school. which is Jefferson High School. We relocated to Jefferson County from Colorado Springs when my husband retired from the Air Force. And part of that decision of moving to Jefferson County was because of the vast history. I was a history major in college, and history is a huge part of our family. So we chose to live here. One of the things that I wanted to accomplish while joining the school board was getting its finances where they need to be. We have a lot of problems with schools being older, and they need to be updated, and we need to be able to get bonds passed and levies passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have heard all the introductions, and we will now proceed with the questions. As I mentioned, they've been prepared by the League of Women Voters, and you'll have 1 minute, and we'll start rotating through the order, so different candidates will answer first. And our first question, which we'll address to the candidates, is, in your opinion, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the Jefferson County school system? And we will start with Mr. Morreale.
Thanks, and hi there. So hopefully I can get through an answer without interruption this time. I believe that one of the most overwhelming weaknesses we have here in Jefferson County is that we are losing a lot of teachers, a lot of great teachers to adjacent counties. And I think that we need to think more about how to support the teachers that we have in the county, and how to attract great teachers to come to the county. I know that when I came here, I knew that I wanted to serve on the Board of Ed as soon as the opportunity arose. And so I began teaching at a small private school here in Shepherdstown. But I know that I was looking at the salary scales in other counties, and I noticed that just the enormous disparity between what we pay our teachers here in Jefferson County compared to counties that are very easily reached in a very short commute. And so I think that we need to support our teachers with better pay. I'm a big believer in small schools and small class sizes. So I think that those are 3 areas in which we can improve Jefferson County.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourn, what is your opinion of the strengths and weaknesses of the Jefferson County school system?
I think our biggest strength is our staff and the people that serve our schools in Jefferson County. And I also have to commend our community for their support of the levy since 1946. And I think our weakness is once again funding from the state. Our staff has trouble living in this area because of the high cost of living in this area. Location pay, or whatever you want to call it, is very important, and our legislators and our government from the state needs to recognize this and find some way to reward these teachers that work in areas where the cost of living is high.
Thank you. Miss Bajada, is that correct? Ms. Bajada, what do you think are the strengths and weaknesses of the school system?
Yes, I agree with both Mark and that our strengths are definitely our community, and they are also our teachers and staff. And I think that many of our weaknesses would be what David said, losing teachers. And also there's a disparity among our schools, and there's a dwindling annual budget, and we need more resources for our teachers for continuing education as well. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Ms. Kerrigan, I'll ask the same question about what are the strengths and weaknesses of the Jefferson County school system?
Thank you. One of our strengths is our diverse demographic as compared to the rest of the state. Our students come from all walks of life and income levels and religions, and that's a great thing. It starts our kids off prepared to work with all kinds of people all over the world, wherever their paths may take them. However, that also leads me into one of our challenges, which is that a lot of the state regulations do not serve our county well. So we have a lot of challenges stacked up against us as far as locality pay, which was already mentioned. The state regulations put up a lot of blockers for us in order to offer locality pay, for us to really tackle our unique problems that we have here in this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Joy, can you give us your thoughts on the strengths and weaknesses of the Jefferson County school system?
Of course, already been mentioned, the staff and the community support, but we do a very good job with the after school programs, sports, the arts and music program is amazing. Theater, we always place very well in competitions. We have an outstanding AP and honors programs in the high schools. So those are very strong. Some of the weaknesses, of course, are the teachers, teacher turnover, but there's a lot that we can do without relying on state funding, starting with basic mutual respect. We can we could offer childcare. Some of the other things are we need to repair our buildings. Many roofs are leaking. The track field needs to be fixed. The Shepherdstown educational complex needs to be, it needs to be built. And then finally, we have a serious problem with special education in the county. We are perpetually, just about always out of compliance in special ed. We
Thank you,
are
Ms. Joy.
violating federal laws. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Godlove, would you also tell us what you think are the strengths and weaknesses of the school system?
Thank you. I think it's been touched on, and I think a lot of folks agree that one of the key assets of this area, and that I've learned through my children and their experiences, is the teachers here. They have heart, they have passion, they want to succeed, they want their children to be successful. And another aspect, one of the greatest things about this county and strengths is the kids themselves. They have a desire to learn. They want to be in school. I've heard this. I hear them say how they're excited to go. So it's our job as a county to kind of foster that growth. And in doing so, we do have to address some of those challenges that we have. You know, we've heard about some of the regional differences in this area. Although it's outside the Board of Education's purview to enact or affect locality pay, I would absolutely support the superintendent in advocating for that and providing them the reasons and numbers and resources so that she can go to our capital and get some of that for our teachers. The other challenge that we have is actual support of not just our teachers, but the aides and the support personnel. Many of them have indicated that they would like additional training in different areas of special needs, and I would like to be able to support all the staff and employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, could you also share with us your thoughts on the strengths and weaknesses of the school system?
Sure can. Not to sound like a parrot, but yes, some of our strengths really are our teachers. My children have had wonderful teachers. The weakness that goes along with that is that they don't get the pay they rightfully deserve. And that needs to change at our state level. It's detrimental to retaining our teachers. One of our other downfalls is the lack of attention to special needs children. I have a son who is special needs, and I had to advocate for him his whole schooling career. So there needs to be some extra attention towards those special needs kids. And if you've ever had the opportunity to watch our Jefferson County Marching Band, that is one of our biggest attributes. It is an amazing feat to see. Our kids are wonderful. Our teachers are wonderful. We just need help making our schools wonderful.
Thank you. Ms. Lochner, what's your views on the strengths and weaknesses of the school system?
Well, thank you. So we've had some repetitive answers here, but I do want to also say that it really truly is our staff and our administrative leadership. In our schools, we have some wonderful principals that are being very innovative and creative in our schools. We just recently put in some instructional technology that's going to support these new programs, STEM programs. And they have that vision is there and they want to do that. But as already mentioned, our retention, just getting teachers, we have a national teaching shortage, right? So those are the hurdles we have to overcome. But sometimes, as much as I would love to be able to give everybody tons of money, sometimes it's about a culture that's in a community and in the schools that keeps our teachers there. I was a teacher that had to make that decision. Did I want to go to Loudoun County for more money or stay here? Obviously, with children in the school system, I wanted to stay here and make it the best system that I could make it. But we do have infrastructure that we need to work with. We've purchased some land. So there's been some good decisions being made, but we need to keep moving forward.
Thank you. Our next question deals with how you would respond to some of these challenges. You all have identified several. So I'd like to ask, starting with Mr. Osbourn, what specific actions do you think the Board of Education should take to address one of the challenges you identified?
Well, one of the first things that we have to do is set a date for the excess levy and to support it and to try to get it passed, because we have about 1 year before that levy's up. And that levy funds about 108 teachers over the formula that we have from the state, plus it supplements the pay of all of our staff. So I think it's very important that we move forward with that and get that passed. And once again, that's been in existence in Jefferson County since 1946. The next thing we need to do, we're going to be proposing hopefully a bond in November, and we do need some schools built, and we need some safety measures taken in some of the schools that we already have, such as man locks and things like that. So all of our schools are up to snuff on safety issues. So I feel that those are two major issues that we need to tackle in the next year.
Thank you. Ms. Bajada, of the issues and challenges you mentioned, what specific actions would you take to address them?
Yeah, I would like to increase, I would like to increase transparency, accessibility, and accountability by the school board, and I want to have the school bonds initiated and move forward so that we can fix our schools and build new schools and fix our athletic fields and sort of decrease the disparity among the schools in our county. I would also like to set policies that could update our curriculum. I would like to focus on our curriculum. I know that we are very state mandated as far as our curriculum goes, but I would like to make some updates to our county schools. I know that we offer financing, but our students need to be able to graduate with some certificates in VOTEC and other just other kinds of, I'm sorry, okay. I'm done.
You can always finish your sentence when we give you the time. Don't feel like you have to chop off too quickly. Ms. Kerrigan, what actions would you initiate on the Board of Education to address what you think are the top challenges to the county school system?
First, I would like to continue the initial public outreach that has started concerning educating our public about why the yes votes are needed for the levy and bond, to battle some of the misconceptions about our funding and which funds go to which purposes. Secondly, I would like to strengthen the board's partnerships with organizations in the community that are already working to lessen some of our devastating childhood experiences, such as addiction, within the home and poverty. The board already works with many organizations, but again, I'd like to strengthen those and assign liaisons among the board that work regularly and seek out the organizations across the county and come up with measurable ways to improve the lives of our kids that are often facing really, really hard issues at home.
Thank you. Ms. Joy, what actions or programs would you initiate on the school board to address what you think are the key challenges to the system?
Well, one of the challenges that I failed to mention that I feel strongly about is that we have a big divide in the county. Several reasons, but there is definitely a break in the trust between the school board and the community. So, and I don't know, unfortunately, if that means that we start over with the new administration, if that's what it takes. But as a minimum, we could create community committees where these committees are formed to help with the building plans. You know, we looking for sustainable buildings, and then committees to help with the drug situation in the schools, teacher retention. So bringing the community back into the mix, that would give more outreach from the school board. Also, a lot of the community members have complained that they don't know how to reach that the board is not accessible. So to make the board more accessible.
Thank you. Wow, perfect. You were right on. That was Ms. Godlove, of the challenges that face the county. What actions would you take to address them?
Thank you. I have two things that I have plans that I would like to work and implement. The first, we heard a little bit about transparency and information, and also about funding. The Board of Education's website right now could use an overhaul to be more user-friendly. This is a great opportunity for us to be able to convey information to the community on such things such as bonds that are coming up for vote, how much money what bonds have passed, how much money we've received, and most importantly, what are we doing with those funds? I think an updated website with a portal that's easy to access will help convey that information. In addition, I'd like to support teachers by proposing a teacher liaison position within the schools. That person's sole job is to support the teachers. Listen when they say, hey, I have a lot of kids in my class that have special needs. I need more support. Or a teacher that says, hey, I need a little more training in this area. This individual is going to be there to see that they get the tools that they need. The administrators, the principals, they're doing a great job, but they have a lot going on, and they're not always able to give every teacher everything they need. So I'd love to create a teacher liaison position with the sole purpose of supporting our teachers and service personnel. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, of the challenges facing the school system, what programs or actions would you support if elected?
Right, sorry. First, I would start with locality pay. We need to get our legislators on board with changing the laws as they stand in West Virginia, because right now they forbid locality pay. And in the meantime, until we are able to get locality pay, I would use block grants to their fullest extent to get money for our teachers. That will create at least a reason why they should stay. Then I would also focus a lot of our energies on fixing our schools. Athletic fields are needed. Our sports need to be funded. Our extracurriculars need to be funded. Our band things need to be funded. And I would like to get these at least moving in this century, because as it stands right now, they seem to take forever and a day to get going.
Thank you. Ms. Lochner, what actions would you work on to address the challenges you think facing the school system?
Yeah, so certainly finances are a big thing, and there's a lot of things taxing our system. And the bond is absolutely imperative for us to get that Shepherdstown school, especially being from Shepherdstown and both my children having gone to Shepherdstown. We know that there's needs there. And even though there may be some community disparity, we need to bring our community together to realize that we need to make these decisions that are good for our students and for all of our children. I would continue to work on that commitment to our community and provide that transparency so that there is that access to school board members. It's imperative. There's ways on the website to contact us, but there does need to be more broadcast of how do we have the voice of the community so that we can actionalize that into action steps. Another thing I wanted to address real quickly was just that of our special needs population. Obviously, it's near and dear to my heart, having been a special educator, and I really think that we need to continue to look at all of the data that comes in on our special education subgroups, as well as we have some other subgroups of students that there's disparity. We need to provide the professional support to our teachers to be able to take that gap and diminish it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morreale, of all the challenges facing the system, what programs would you initiate to address them?
Hi there, sorry. Thank you so much. So I am that rarest of animals in that I am politically liberal but fiscally conservative. And so while I support the bonds moving forward, I would support a comprehensive review of our spending so that we can increase that teacher salary, that teacher pay on an ongoing basis, not just for this year, but for, you know, to increase their steps every year moving forward. So a comprehensive review, including review of pilot agreements that, such as the one with Rockwool, that in my view was going to pull a lot of money from our school systems and from our county for the next decade. I would like to review existing plans for new buildings and instead see if there's anything that we can do with our existing structures that might prove more cost effective than building new schools. I am a big proponent of using data to make decisions, and so smaller schools and smaller class sizes might be the way to go.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is, how are you educating yourself on the issues and challenges you have identified? And let's start with Miss, you know, really, I'm gonna start calling you Erin because Miss Bajada. How are you educating yourself on the issues and challenges you have identified?
I've been doing research, reading our state legislature, and I've been talking with our parents and teachers, members of the community as to their concerns and issues. And through the program at Shepherd University, I have been able to shadow and see inside the schools and be able to determine problems from within. That's good.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll move on to Ms. Kerrigan, and how are you educating yourself on the issues and challenges you have identified?
First and foremost, maintaining an open mind, recognizing that I do have a lot to learn, and but part of the advantage of that is my optimism, a fresh set of eyes. Secondly, speaking to my contacts throughout the county. I did grow up here, and so I'm able to bounce ideas off of people who are living, who are facing these challenges, whether it's teachers or parents. Just asking people, listening, and also recognize, like I said, recognizing that I need to maintain an open mind and know that for the most part, everyone is doing the best they can, and they're facing a lot of challenges, a lot of blockers. And so I know that most of the challenges are going to come from the blockers, not lack of aptitude or willingness to do the work.
Thank you. Miss Joy, how are you educating yourself on the issues and challenges you've identified?
I lost your, I see you, so I'm just letting you know. You'll have to let me know when time's up.
Okay,
So
will do.
Okay, so I've been taking classes at Shepherd in Appalachian Studies so I can learn more about the culture so that I can be more helpful. I've also studied communication skills extensively. The Imago dialogue, I teach that skill of communicating. So I find that that would be helpful in organizing committees that I mentioned. The other thing is that I've taken the recovery coach training with Senator Unger. I'm a certified recovery coach. So I have taken over 100 hours of training and volunteering and learning about the drug problem. I volunteer at the drug court and in the hospitals. The other thing is with special education. I routinely help families navigate through the special ed system here in the county. So I'm very familiar with federal and state regulations and the problems that the county has in being out of compliance.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you're right on time. You don't need a timer. You're
oh, really?
Miss Godlove, could you tell us about how you're educating yourself on the issues and challenges you think facing the schools?
Absolutely. I think what I've been doing is just kind of feet on the street, you know, heading out, chatting with individuals. I had an opportunity, I've sat down and had coffee with current administrators and teachers and former teachers, kind of getting a feel. That's kind of a great avenue for me because I often hear things if they're no longer in their positions. A lot of them have retired. Some of the challenges and concerns that they had. I'm talking to parents. What are their struggles? What do they want to see more of? What do they want to hear more about? In addition, just average folks, maybe folks that don't have children that are expressing concerns because they don't know what's going on with their school board. And that brings us back to, you know, increasing the transparency. So my goal is to talk to the citizens of Jefferson County who I would be representing to find out what's most important to them and then bring that to the board and take action on those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, tell us a little bit about how you're educating yourself on the issues and challenges you've identified.
Well, it's a little bit of education and hands on the ground. I've been advocating recently with different legislators to take on a bill for next year for locality pay. And I told them that it didn't make a difference whether I made it onto the board, that I wanted to get a bill. Didn't matter who it was, whether it was Republican or Democrat, and I want a bill, and I would help them at least push it through and get the words out there. The other, it's tough because I'm looking at different legislators and everybody wants to help, but they have their hands tied. And it is a labor of love just trying to get Charleston to do anything for us. We're like the redheaded stepchildren.
Thank you. Ms. Lochner, tell us how you educate yourself on the issues and challenges facing Jefferson County schools.
Well, as an interim board member, it's as under fire, I guess we could say, that I'm educating myself. It's been very different, I have to say. You know, I've been in education from a university professor down to teaching, at North Jefferson Elementary. And really, the role of school board member there's so much more complexity to it. So I'm teaching myself, even though my doctorate's in educational leadership, I have a lot to learn about the role on the school board. But I will say that having worked for the West Virginia Department of Education, where we did drive a lot of policy, I'm familiar, I have a lot of connections, as well I'm on several national organizations, such as the Council for Exceptional Children, the Teacher Education Division of that. So we're constantly on the Hill talking about policy, particularly around students with special needs.
Thank you. Mr. Morreale, how have you been educating yourself on the issues and challenges you've identified facing the system?
First, I guess I'd like to say that I'm both a teacher and a parent, and so I have tried very hard to, or it comes very naturally, I guess, for me to look at it from both sides. I'm a big believer in data. I think there's a lot of lip service paid to the importance of data, but when it comes to making policy and making decisions, I think data is too often ignored in favor of personal beliefs. I'm a big believer in looking at things on a case-by-case basis and looking at the data for what works and what doesn't work. And I've taught in 3 systems over the last decade since becoming a teacher. And I've spent a lot of time listening to parents here in Jefferson County, listening to teachers here in Jefferson County, and listening to students in Jefferson County. So that's and I have a lot to learn. If I am elected, I'm new to the county, and so I do have an awful lot to learn here.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourn, you're the last to be heard from on this topic. How do you prepare yourself for the challenges facing the school system?
Well, the 2 issues that I brought up are the levy and the bond. And on the levy, I've looked at the numbers of individuals that we support outside the school aid formula, such as our school counselors and our nurses. We have 108 positions that the school levy funds. If we would not pass that levy, it would devastate our school system. It also provides a good chunk of pay for our staff that is given in 3 bonuses throughout the year. So that levy is very important, and looking at those numbers, it shows that we absolutely need that to survive in our school system. As far as our building plan goes, we have a 10-year building plan that was developed throughout. We okay?
Yeah.
We have a 10-year building plan that was developed through outreach forums throughout our county. We hired a company to evaluate and rank our schools and the needs of our schools. And we need at least 1 school in the Shepherdstown area, an elementary school. Our present elementary school has needs of somewhere between $7 and $8 million worth of renovations.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is, which group do you think is most accountable for success in our school system? Teachers, students, parents, or administrators? And we'll start with Miss Kerrigan. Do you need me to repeat the question? She's on.
Do we start with Erin or Miss Kerrigan?
I have Miss Kerrigan.
Okay.
So, okay, there you go, Regina. Let me repeat the question.
Okay.
Which group do you think is most accountable for success in our school system? Teachers, students, parents, or administrators?
Absolutely, hands down, it's the parents. Everything starts at home. The building blocks, the developmental stages, it's all at home. Without the support from the parents, without parents looking out for the emotional, mental well-being of their kids, anything that teachers and administration do is going to be in vain, unfortunately. So, yeah, our schools definitely have their work cut out for us with all the challenges that our kids are going through. Many of them really disadvantaged with trauma, developmental trauma. So that's probably the most challenging problem that we have as a public school system, which is how do we support the kids and how do we support the parents support their kids? I think it goes back to working with organizations that are already really good at lessening those impacts. We need to create a more of a village mentality when it comes to our education system.
Thank you. Ms. Joy, which group do you think is most accountable for success in the school system? Teachers, students, parents, or administrators?
Well, I think ideally, and I'm losing you again, ideally, we all are accountable. Like Regina said, it takes a village. So, you know, the child has to have their basic needs met. And if they don't, then, you know, then the parent has to reinforce. But a lot of times we don't have the parent available. If we have the drug problem. So then it falls back on the teacher and the administrator. So it's a holistic approach that is ideal. But yes, of course, traditionally and legally, it is the parent's responsibility. It's hard because I cannot see, the screen is frozen.
You're doing fine.
Okay, it's just that everything is frozen from my end. So again, I believe that it takes everybody contributes to a different degree, but we do need to support the parents. The administrators need to support teachers so that teachers can support the students and the parents. When the parent can't be there to pick up the pieces for their child, it does fall on the teachers. I mean, that's the way it is. It's not ideal, but that's how it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the same question of Ms. Godlove. Who is most accountable for success? Teachers, students, parents, or administrators?
Thank you. I'd have to say for me, I'm going to kind of go tie, if I'm allowed, between our parents and our teachers. The reason I say this is absolutely our teachers cannot be successful without the support of our parents. I do believe that. However, we've heard a lot from other candidates talking about some of those adverse childhood experiences and some of the things that our families struggle with. And it's not, in some cases, the parents may want to be doing more, but they're just not able because of circumstances. So then our teachers are the ones that are stepping in and they're picking that up and they're stepping up to the plate and doing some of that work. So I think they're equally responsible. And as board members, we need to find a way to balance those responsibilities and provide support to not just families because they need that, but also our teachers. So again, working with both equally and partnering them together, we can be most successful, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, could you tell us who you think is most accountable for success? Teachers, students, parents, or administrators?
I would say the parents are most accountable as it all starts and ends at home. When they head off to school, I would say that the teachers are the parents' backup because they're there, they're right in front of the children. I know that I would say that a lot of parents sometimes are not familiar or don't familiarize themselves with what's going on at school. And I think that that needs to be addressed so that they can help their children at home, at school, so they are successful.
Thank you. Ms. Lochner, who do you think most accountable? Teachers, students, parents, or administrators?
I'm going to deviate a little bit here from the group. I haven't had a career as a school improvement coordinator in implementing turnaround strategies. A lot of the research shows that it really is the administrator, that they set up the climate and the culture in a school, and a lot of things are based on their leadership. All the schools that we go in and we try to turn around, it comes down to what's going on with the leader in that building. If they're not supporting their teachers, the teachers can't implement the curriculum, they can't provide those supports and services. We as a school system, we can put in social emotional learning, we can put in some wonderful programs, but if our teachers aren't communicating with the administrators, our administrators aren't supporting, the whole system kind of falls down and we can't support those students. It's not like, parents are keeping the good kids home. We have to educate every student that walks through that door, and the administrators absolutely can.
Thank you. Mr. Morreale, I have the same question for you. Who is most accountable for success? Teachers, students, parents, or administrators?
Well, of course, they all play a part, right? I think that teachers need parental support. I think parents need support. I'd like to see an accentuation or a building of programs, a building up of existing programs, and a building of programs that would help parents whose children are at risk through the problems that Regina mentioned. But I would also, I'm gonna echo what Ms. Lochner said. As a teacher with boots on the ground, I can tell you that that schools, like many organizations, are a top-down organization, and I'd like to reevaluate our system of observations and see what's working and what isn't. I'd like to do whatever we can to help administrators within their buildings support the teachers in those buildings. You know, as I said before, we need smaller class sizes. Data shows us that this works. You know, to help student achievement. So, you know, while everyone plays a role, we need to support parents so they can support teachers, and we need to support administrators so they can do the same.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourn, who do you think is most accountable for success? Teachers, students, parents, or administrators?
I think all four are important because it takes a village to raise a child. But research has shown that an effective school administrator has the most impact that there is. At the school I was at, we had a number of economically disadvantaged children there. They were some of our top scorers on achievement tests because we had high standards for those children, and we held them accountable to those high standards. If those children were lacking something, one of the strengths of our county was that our present staff would find ways for them to get these school supplies and things that they needed to be successful. And then the high standards and accountability were keys for them to be successful.
Thank you. Ms. Bajada, what are your thoughts on who is the most important to success? Teachers, students, parents, or administrators?
I believe that everyone plays a part, but our parents play the strongest role in supporting their children because they provide the basic safety net. If that safety net is not there at home, unfortunately, the child relies on the public school for direction. So much falls on our schools to provide the best resources for our children, and everyone in the school needs to work together to help raise student achievement and address all of their individual concerns. Usually it is up to the teacher to recognize distress in their students, and the teachers need more resources to recognize issues with students and learn about the tools that they need to support them. The teachers also need the support from the top down. So good administrators will hold teachers accountable and give them the tools they need to be successful. As a board member, it is our responsibility to make sure that the school is providing the best services for the students by keeping everyone in check. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next question. The National League of Women Voters is very concerned with environmental impacts from climate change. How do you think this topic should be addressed in the school curriculum? And we'll start with Ms. Joy.
And I've lost the screen again. I've been working with legislators for trying to get a bill passed for personal finance. It made it all the way through the House, 100 to 8. I'm really close. I'm going to try again this year, but then I'm going to introduce this summer a climate change environmental requirement for graduation, a half credit. This would take years, I'm sure, to go into effect. Excuse me. But that's one of the things that I'm advocating. So that would begin with kindergarten and all the way through. So by the time they reach high school, in order to graduate, they will have to have had a half credit of environmental science, global warming studies. Excuse me, sorry, I need to get water.
Thank you. Ms. Godlove, how do you think the topic of environmental impacts from climate change should be addressed in the school curriculum?
Thank you. I believe that we can start immediately with increasing the information into our curriculum. It can be woven into the existing curriculum almost seamlessly if we enable our teachers and aides and provide some additional training. At a younger child's level, when we talk about different things, we talk about, hey, let's look in our lunch boxes. Oh, look, here's a plastic bag we throw out. Here's a container that we can reuse. So we can start doing into our daily lives. As they get older, it's not just introducing and talking about some of the science-based information, but also looking to those students to provide solutions, get their feedback. I found that our young people today are very involved in that, even more so than some of their teachers. And they're the ones that can give us some of the solutions. We need to give them the opportunity to have those discussions as they go through all their classes. Not just science, but it can also come into literature, English, civics, even into gym. What are we doing with our old equipment? Where does it go? I think they'll have the answers for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, how do you think the topic of the environmental impacts from climate change should be addressed in the school curriculum?
Well, I think we're already doing it to some degree. When my children were in grade school, I remember the reuse, recycle, and being taught in school and therefore, but we can elaborate on it. We can take it one step further and teach our children to be more respectful of our earth. I think that when it comes down to high school, we can offer a more in-depth environmental sciences curriculum where they can even earn college credits for taking environmental sciences. My son takes one now. And I think that if we just further what we're doing already, we can just enhance it one step further.
Thank you. Mr. Morreale, the National League of Women Voters is concerned about climate change and environmental impacts. How do you think this topic should be addressed in the school curriculum?
Well, in fact, I would actually take Ms. Godlove's and Ms. Joy's proposals and actually put them together. I see great opportunities in our current curriculum across the board. I think there's been a huge concentration on STEM. I'd like to see the A added to that, and this would be a great way to do that. We could increase we could build a curriculum that would teach this throughout all the content areas. We could study in the sciences, we could study environmental impacts. In the arts, we could study, on Walden Pond. I mean, there are all kinds of ways to build this. And I think we could do that in the short term while building toward Ms. Joy's proposal to make it a graduation requirement to have an actual course built for that into the curriculum.
Thank you. I inadvertently skipped you, Ms. Lochner, but I'm going to capture you now. Can you tell us how the topic of environmental impacts from climate change should be addressed in the school curriculum?
Yeah, absolutely. It is embedded and integrated into a lot of the curriculum right now, but we've seen that really kind of go off gangbusters here lately. Charlestown Middle School has a great STEM program that they've been piloting, and we want to continue to see that, and we're supporting that as a board right now to get into different schools, different classrooms, and different grade levels. But also, we model it in our schools, starting with the young students. But at the high school level, we really want to see that some of those green jobs are starting to be recognized in our VOTEC programs. And so that the students have those experiences, but most of all, that they have those opportunities. It's kind of, if you build it, they will come. So having those options available to them is absolutely critical, starting in the middle school, that they're exposed to that and what those opportunities are.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourn, could you address the issue of teaching the environmental impacts from climate change in the school curriculum?
I agree with what the previous speakers have said. I think this can be woven into our present curriculum. I think it needs to be emphasized greater than it is right now. But environmental science can be integrated into our other sciences as well. And I think we need to be good models for our students to show them the things that need to be done for these types of climate change and environmental impacts.
Thank you. Ms. Bajada, could you comment on how to, about integrating climate change into the school curriculum?
Yes, it's good to know that our schools are offering some information about climate change, but I would like to see more. I think it's really, really important for children to start learning about climate change in elementary school. And in order for our next generation to make decisions to shape a world that protects our natural resources and protects the natural beauty of our planet, they need to be aware of the harm that humans do, and they need information on how technology and innovation can save us. I would advocate for making it part of the curriculum for our schools to teach climate change. And I would like our science fairs to focus on innovations in environmental fields and green jobs. And if in the beginning, I would like to see every high school at least offering a full course in environmental science and climate change. And I would like to see our schools collaborating with the local VOTEC programs and our agri-science programs.
Thank you. Ms. Kerrigan, could you talk about teaching climate change as part of the school curriculum?
I think right off the bat, we can take up certain organizations' offers to do all the legwork. There's at least one organization that has offered to do the background and heavy lifting on incorporating extra curriculum around climate change, and this would be at no cost to the school system. They've offered to cover the cost as well, so that's something that right off the bat we can easily do. Also, I think in the meantime, yes, it needs to be woven into our already existing curriculum, but that's going to take time, and I think right up in the meantime, we can incorporate that in more of the extracurricular and more of the spirit weeks, for example. We can look at what community service hours are our kids having to complete, and can we make some of those hours geared toward climate change? So looking at what we can do immediately with as little cost as possible. There are many options available already.
Thank you. Well, we have 3 more questions left for you, so we're way over halfway through. So the next question is, are you familiar with the committees of the Board of Education, and which are you most interested in serving on and why? And for those who are already on the board, what committees have you served on and why are they important? So let's start with Ms. Godlove on that. What committees would you serve on if elected to the board, and why?
Fine, thank you. I'm going to have to be honest and say, I don't have as much experience with information about each individual committee. So at this point, I'm sad to say I'd love to be involved, and I hope to find some that I can be of use on, but I couldn't go into additional information, and I apologize, but I'm looking forward to learning more.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, what committees would you be interested in serving on and why?
I am going to follow Ms. Godlove, and I'm going to explain that I am a parent and I have not been involved extensively in my research, and I cannot comment to what committee that I would pick because I have different skills that maybe someone else has, and I don't know where I would fit in, and I would hate to commit to something that I would be not useful at.
Thank you. Ms. Lochner, you are on the board. What committees have you served on and why did you choose them?
Well, so because I'm in interim, I kind of got what was left, right? So I'm on the Extension, Jefferson County Extension Committee. And I didn't, quite frankly, no discredit to the others, I didn't know about it either until I became an interim on the school board. I would prefer to be on the Parks and Recreation because I think we need a lot of synergy with our athletic fields, and that would be a great partnership, but that's not the one that I'm on, and I'm not sure what will happen in terms of once new members are on here. Maybe Mr. Osbourn can tell us how that all works, but right now I'm learning a lot with the Extension Committee, It's all brand new topic and subject matter.
Thank you. Mr. Morreale, what committee would you be interested in serving on and why?
Well, I'm afraid I have to join so many of the others here. I don't know much about the specific committees. I know that I would be very interested in working in the area of curriculum and in equity for our students. I've just finished my master's, and my master's thesis is on the idea of equity in education. So that's a continuing interest of mine, and one of the driving motivators for why I'm a teacher. While I profess ignorance, if there are committees that work in those areas, I'd love to work on those. And I would love to work on whatever is necessary. So when I learn more about the committees and the needs of the county, I look forward to contributing.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourn, what committees are you part of now, and why are you on them?
We choose committees that we have a particular interest in, and I am on EPIC. I'm on their board. EPIC is the Eastern Panhandle Instructional Cooperative. It used to be RESA, but the state stopped funding RESA, and it became a cooperative. This serves 8 Eastern Panhandle counties, and it trains bus drivers, substitute teachers, staff development for all staff. Also helps in special education matters and training staff development for special ed. We also can hire people through EPIC, and we have hired quite a few people through EPIC, and it is nice to share those between counties, especially if they're small counties. You might not need a school speech pathologist in the smaller counties for one county, but 2 counties can share that person. It's been a learning experience because we've had to learn how to make a cooperative successful and make it financially successful. So that's been quite a learning experience.
Thank you. Ms. Bajada, what committees would you be interested in serving on and why?
I also have to say that I don't know very much about the committees for the board, but I would be enthusiastic about learning about the committees and dedicating myself to one of them. Mr. Osbourn, thank you for shedding some light on your role in the committee. So that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Kerrigan, what would be your interest in committees, serving on what committees and why?
Again, I have to echo everyone that I don't know the specific committees, but absolutely look forward to learning more about that. I personally love to just jump in where I could be most useful, and hopefully that will match up with the things that I'm personally more passionate about, which is lessening the impact of childhood adverse experiences.
Thank you. Ms. Joy, are you familiar with the committees of the Board of Education? And if so, which would you be interested in?
I'm sorry, you were still.
Go ahead.
I'm familiar with some. I'm interested in Parks and Rec, and for many reasons. I love sports, play sports. I'm on an adult soccer team, and I am passionate about the environment. We need to build the Shepherdstown educational complex, and I understand there's a possibility, the plan is to work with Parks and Rec to try to at least use their expertise, and which that would be very helpful in combining that with a sports complex. Right now, we are, in my opinion, we're wasting a lot of money using the Shepherd University swimming pool and their facilities. If we had our own swimming pool, or if somehow we could work with Parks and Rec for, to build a swimming pool. Sorry, my sign fell down. And, just to work on a sustainable and green building. Thank you.
Thank you.
Time is up.
Okay, we're down to our last 2 questions. Do you believe that all students have equal and adequate education in Jefferson County schools? And we'll start with Ms. Fuller.
I would like to believe that all children have equal education opportunities in Jefferson County. But the fact is that there are children that fall through those cracks and they then become those children that do not get. I would like to see those kids that fall through those cracks, the lower income families, be given further training, further guidance on things that they can do so that they can experience the same educational standards that someone who have.
Okay, Ms. Lochner, do you think all students have equal and adequate education in our schools?
You know, all students are allowed a free, appropriate public education. It's not a free, perfect education. But our students, you know, we're trying to provide the best we can at Jefferson County Schools, and just as an educator, but, you know, equal is not always equitable. Just because, you know, we have a saying that fair isn't equal. Our students have differentiated needs, and we need to address all of those differentiated needs of all of our students. And that takes a lot of work, and we have a lot of good programs. We're starting to implement the social, emotional, and providing the support. Intervention is something that I think our county needs to really ramp up for our students, particular elementary students, so that we can help those students that are marginalized. So we're getting there, but even as a state, our data shows that we're not there yet.
Thank you. Mr. Morreale, do you believe all students have equal and adequate education?
I think I would echo Ms. Lochner. I think that equal is not where we need to be concentrated. I think we need to look at equity in education. I think we need to understand that social identifiers, religion, race, ethnicity, those things need to be viewed as assets, not merely as something that we need to equalize. And I think that we need to make sure that each student has access not to the same support as every other student, but the support that that individual student needs. And I'd like to see acknowledgement in both curriculum and in professional development needs for both administrators and teachers, an acknowledgement of those equitable needs.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourn, do you believe all students have equal and adequate education in Jefferson County schools?
I think this is an area that we always need to evaluate and look at and find ways to get all students to find their niche. I think the area of special education, I think we have some room to improve in that area. I don't think that we are meeting the needs of all of those students. I think we need to differentiate instruction much better than we're doing. And another area that is close and dear to my heart is VOTEC. I do not believe that we're doing a very good job with VOTEC at this time. We need students to come out of our VOTEC departments that are job ready for employment. And I do not think we're doing that at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Bajada, do you think that all students have equal and adequate education in our schools?
Unfortunately, not all our schools are created equal, and not all our students come from equal backgrounds. There is no one path to success that fits every child. But Jefferson County schools are trying hard to address all the students' needs, but I would like to see more. I would like to see an increase in our infant toddlers program and bring it to our elementary schools to address their needs from the very beginning. And we need to offer better services to our children with special needs. And we really need to look at our students' diversity and individuality and acknowledge each one and provide them an education that suits them and gives them their best path to success for their future by increasing tech and other options.
Thank you. Ms. Kerrigan, would you address the topic of equal and adequate education in Jefferson County schools?
I think it's widely understood that certain situations and disadvantages can hinder individual access to opportunities. I think here in this county, it is front and center in the minds of our teachers and admin and staff. Whether it's trying to make sure every student has access to internet during this COVID crisis, making sure all kids are getting enough food to eat. But of course, it goes beyond that in many ways. It's not something that we can simply judge without constant evaluation. We need actual data to look at in which ways kids are being disadvantaged. And I think that only with that data, we can really make any meaningful solutions.
Thank you. Ms. Joy, could you address whether you believe all students have equal and adequate education in our schools?
Okay. Well, definitely not. And a lot of the reasons are because of the policies that our county relies on. Number one, credit recovery that's severely abused. We have kids that maybe show up 5 times out of the year. They end up walking across the stage because the policy is to graduate. It doesn't matter if they're achieving or earning the credit, but we really are pushing kids through using credit recovery. Number two, special ed. We're always out of compliance with special ed. Our county has a policy to limit the number of IEPs that are written in order to save money, and these kids are falling, through the cracks. I have to go into the next issue. So we don't follow research-based strategies or reading strategies, even though somebody came and did an article of how wonderful they're doing. That's not what research says is the ideal way to teach reading. We are driving an hour and a half. Kids are driving an hour and a half to go to Rumsey for VOTEC. We should be bringing VOTEC to our new.
Go ahead and finish your sentence.
Yeah, I was just going to say we need to bring those VOTEC programs here. So internet access, just so many.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Godlove, would you like to address the topic of equal and adequate education in Jefferson County schools?
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to say I don't think all of our students are receiving equal opportunities to succeed. And I talked about that earlier. And some of my other individuals previous to me touched on some of the VOTEC opportunities. Are we talking to them about, military service? Every one of our children, their level or what bar they set for their success is going to be different based on their unique needs. And I don't think as a county we're addressing all of those unique needs at this time. The other piece of that question was adequate. We may be adequately educating all of our students, but are we as a county okay with adequate? I would not be. So I would say we need to evaluate, gather more information on what areas we can improve, and then move forward with making those changes. And I don't mean by just addressing the needs of a few at the cost of many. I've heard from some of our educators that can be a concern at times as well. So we need to find and be able to strike a balance between meeting the needs of a few and meeting them all, and allowing every child to have an opportunity to be successful, no matter what that level of success looks like.
Thank you. Well, we have reached our last question, and of course, what would it be without mentioning COVID-19? And the question is, what do you see as the biggest challenge for the Jefferson County school system due to COVID-19 and all the restrictions? And we'll start with Ms. Lochner.
So we are right in the midst of this. I was doing an interview with WVDM this morning about what we're looking at doing. And it's a moving target right now. So Jefferson County's been trying to be very proactive, because what happened to teachers and to parents and to families was a heck of a jolt on March 13th. And within a week, our teachers had to transition to providing this remote learning opportunity. We have put in place a plan in instructional technology where we were already purchasing and looking toward the future of virtual and online as being integrated into our learning systems. So we were already kind of in a good position, but going forward, what's it going to look like? Our reentry going to look like? The CDC is saying 2 students per 1,000 square feet. That's not going to happen. You know, it's kids going to school maybe once every 2 weeks. So we know that virtual has to be an option right up front, so that if that's good for some of our families, but it's about listening to our community, listening to our teachers, our administrators, and working together to figure out what that plan is going to be.
Thank you. Mr. Morreale, what do you see as the biggest challenge due to COVID-19?
Well, I think that as we've seen, and as Ms. Lochner mentioned, I think that the teachers have done just an incredible job in transitioning to the online learning environment. I've heard from a lot of parents that it's challenging to support their children at home. But I think that if the teachers and admin had not done such an incredible job, I think it would have been a lot more difficult. So I think the biggest challenge and has been how exactly to enable students to keep engaging and keep learning throughout the stay-at-home orders. And you know, I would applaud the decision to offer choice in the fall. I think we're in this for a long time. I don't think this is going to be something that is going to allow us to reopen anytime soon. And I think that both as a parent of 2 small children, one of whom is in 2nd grade, and as a teacher observing this from outside, I think that Jefferson County Schools has been very responsive in a very responsible way.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourn, what challenge is the biggest challenge from the COVID virus and all the restrictions?
I don't know what one is the biggest, because there's so many challenges out there, to be honest with you. I look at one area as funding. Are we going to get all of our funding from the federal government and the state? What will education look like next year? I'm not sure we're aware of what this whole thing is going to look like. We're all going to have to work together, and definitely some of it's going to be virtual learning. We did buy 1,000 Chromebooks the other day because we got them at a very good price to plug in holes for people that needed them to graduate. I'll have to applaud our teachers and administration because they've done a great job, and we're far ahead of some other counties that are financially stronger than we are. And I'll have to say we hit the ground running and did a great job from the very get-go of making this whole thing happen. And I'll have to applaud how this all has taken place, from administration to teachers to total staff. They did a great job. And as well as bus drivers delivering lunches and making lunches, to be truthful with you. So it's been difficult.
Thank you. Ms. Bajada, what do you see as the biggest challenge for the school system due to the COVID virus?
I think our superintendent has done a wonderful job keeping our students and staff safe. She has been very proactive in providing remote education and informing our parents about the Google Classroom. We were in a good position already because our schools, I have learned, had started working on the virtual classroom 2 years ago. And our teachers have done an amazing job off the cuff, doing extra learning to prepare themselves for for COVID, and for the new information transitioning to online and communicating with the parents. The biggest challenge has fallen on the parents right now, and I really would like to see in the fall choice for the parents to decide whether to take part in virtual classroom or send their kids to school. And what will school look like in the future? Will there be A and B days, so only half the student body will be in school? Will athletics open up, but with new restrictions? So we don't know how long this virus is going to affect us, and it's an ever-changing and evolving process.
Thank you. Ms. Kerrigan, could you talk about what you see as the biggest challenge to the school system due to the COVID virus?
I think of all the difficult challenges that this has brought up, I think everything pales pales in comparison to the absolute blow to mental health that we are going to have to deal with that is in store for us whenever school does return. Unfortunately, the severe child abuse cases have gone up due to all the strain on finances that parents are having. It's a very sad fact of this situation. And I think when we do get back to school, our school guidance counselors are going to need a lot of support. And I hope that we can start planning for that now, because they're going to have a lot on their plates. They're going to have a lot of traumatized kids that they're going to have to help. And because if they don't, that's going to be a major block to any education or any, as good as our teachers are, it's going to be a major blocker for any success.
Thank you. Miss Joy, tell us what you think are the biggest challenge for the school system due to the COVID virus.
Yeah, I agree that in the future, stress, handling all the stress that this has caused is going to be a big load when we do get back to school. But currently, I think it's been very difficult for a lot of teachers to make the transition. A lot of teachers get into education because they like to see the kids, and real hands-on, and that's been hard for a lot of teachers that I've talked to. But the parents have been, I just hear so many complaints that they have a hard time because they're trying to maybe work online and teach more than one child. There's maybe one computer and they have to take turns on this computer. So those maneuvering this whole new culture of online education from the parent and the family's perspective has probably been the biggest difficulty. Internet access, computers, graduation, sports, those things have been other problems. So we can fix those though. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Godlove, tell us what you think of the biggest challenge for the school system due to the COVID virus.
Oh, as a parent coming from that one who had a fight today with Google Classroom, I'm going to try and keep it all in line. I think the biggest challenge is how do we get the information to our kids? How do we ensure that all the children are getting something? I know at this point there's some teachers that haven't been able to get in touch with their families. So I think the biggest challenge is communications and finding a way to keep all the children engaged at one level or another. As someone mentioned, this isn't going away tomorrow. So the solution may be very different for each family. Some families may choose to stay home. Some may go to school. Some families may say, I don't want to do either, and I think we're going to have to just wait a year, and maybe that child's a year older when they graduate. One of the things that I'm so excited about and have seen from this current situation is how the teachers turned on a dime. The administration supported them, and most importantly, that decision from our superintendent that came down that said, hey, we're not going to grade, you can participate, that put a lot of relief on a lot of our families. So we need to continue to make things easier on our families and get information to our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, what do you say is the biggest challenge to the school system due to the COVID virus?
Well, one of the biggest complaints or issues that I have encountered, not with my family, but others around that I've spoken to, was the fact that there's no reliable internet. If they're on Frontier, it's spotty. Those that have Comcast have better, but you then have to worry about the appliances that they need to work remotely. As someone else mentioned, that not everybody has 4 or 5 computers in their home. I think that something can be implemented that the neediest families are offered low-cost laptops, and we can contact or contract through a cellular provider for some sort of 5G up-to-date, reliable cell service for whatever computers that are handed out to make it easier.
Thank you. Well, that concludes the question portion of our forum and takes us to closing comments. And you will have 2 minutes for your closing remarks. And we will start with Mr. Morreale.
Well, I guess I'd like to say first, thanks again for having us tonight. And I know that for those of you who will be watching this tomorrow, it will be a long slog listening to all of our opinions. But I'd like to say thank you again. So, you know, I guess, as I said earlier, my motivation for wanting to serve on the Board of Ed is based and is rooted in the same urges that made me want to become a teacher, and that is to support students. I came up through a lot of different school systems. My family moved around a lot, but I know that teachers, good teachers, formed a very strong basis for who I became as a person, as an adult. And I would like very much to support those teachers that are doing that already. I'd like to attract new teachers into our system so that we can pass on this institutional knowledge that great teachers have to support our students. I'd love to see more VOTEC programs, because as much as I have enjoyed being at college, I think that we need to acknowledge that not all students are attracted to college. Not all students will get the most out of it. And I know that, you know, if I have a plumbing problem in my home, I'm not going to be calling a philosophy major. I'm going to need a plumber to come in and help me out. So I think we need to be very real about the challenges moving forward in the world. And I think we need to, as my own personal mentor said in college, you know, the best thing that you can do for students is to challenge them, is to demand a lot from them, and then provide them with the tools with which to meet those demands. And I'd like to see, you know, I think our teachers here in Jefferson County do a great job of that. And I'd like to see more support headed in their direction so that they can continue to do that. I'd like to see more support for our support staff, who I think is, you know, one of the things that I was told when I graduated was make friends with secretaries and janitors in your school. And I think supporting all levels within the school system is extremely important.
Thank you. Mr. Osbourn, you have 2 minutes.
David, I think you're right. The secretaries and the custodians are people you do need to make friends with, absolutely. Thank you for allowing all of us to share our views on a wide variety of topics about our school system. I greatly appreciate people's voting for me in the coming election. I feel my wide range of experience will be a valuable tool to help guide the decisions of the Board of Education in the future, a future we're not sure where it's headed at this time. So I think it's important to have experience on our side. Thank you.
Ms. Bajada, you have 2 minutes.
All right. We have some very good people running for Board of Education, and this forum has been very informative and has asked very important questions of us. I'm grateful for having the opportunity to run and to have so much support from members of this community. I want to thank all of you for listening in. And I would like to leave you by saying my heart is with our children, and I hope you give me the opportunity to dedicate myself to making our school system better. I will work hard to make changes where I can. My teachers had such an influence on me as well, and growing up, and have shaped me into the person that I am today. And I want to offer more for our teachers and more for our students. I want to offer more transparency, accessibility, and accountability from the board. Parent input is so important for our board members. And I want to see our curriculum updated to accommodate the changing workforce, and we need better services for special education. I would like to see our schools repaired, athletics fields installed, and arts facilities updated. I would like to see our teachers and support personnel receive more support so they can give more to our students. I just want to thank all of you for listening and taking the time to make informed decisions on our elected officials. And maybe this year we will have the best people in our local government. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kerrigan.
First and foremost, I am a mom who I want to be a voice for other parents on the board, and also I can with confidence say that every decision I would make is through the lens that education is our most important investment as a society, whether we're supporting kids going off to college or if we're supporting kids learning a trade or a vocation. I also think of myself as sort of a fresh pair of eyes to the board, who has seen where we came from, having grown up here, and therefore this is my home. I'm really passionate about where we're heading as a county. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but also we're at a really exciting, potentially exciting place with the possibility of new schools, new facilities. We're on the brink of growth, hopefully, assuming COVID doesn't continue to devastate. So that's what I want people to take away from what I'm going to offer to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Joy, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I believe that I have extensive skills and experience that our board can use. My PhD in educational research and statistics allows me to analyze educational data. I supervise principals' dissertations and supervise student teachers, so I am very familiar with personnel. I used to work as a bookkeeper, so I taught math for 33 years, so I'm very good at handling budgets. I've been a special ed advocate in this county for 15 years. And so I'm very comfortable with the federal and state, federal laws and state policies. My children went through the school system, starting with Asbury United Methodist Church for preschool, and South Jefferson, Shepherdstown Elementary, Shepherdstown Middle, Jefferson High. My oldest daughter graduated from WVU last spring, and my younger daughter attends Shepherd University on the McCormick Scholarship and the HISTA Scholarship. So I'm very familiar with a lot of the opportunities. I'm passionate about education. That's part of why I want to be on the school board. I want to bring our schools up to the level of the surrounding counties and help us to move into the 21st century. Like I said, our curriculum isn't necessarily research-based, or the way that we teach it. We have very little control over our curriculum, but the way that we teach, we can adjust that. And so we could be following more research-based approaches. I want to help mend the divide between the community and the administration and the school board. And okay, my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Godlove, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone for bearing with us and listening to all this. You know, I want to regroup just with the goal and the target of being success for every child, no matter what that looks like. I think it's our duty to move forward in trying to help them each attain that. You know, I talked about several things about providing teacher liaison. The #1 reason people leave jobs is not necessarily because of money. And don't get me wrong, I think we can do better there, but because of the level of support that individuals receive in their job. So I think that's an area that I kind of have a light plan on how to go forward with that. And I'd love to share that with folks more in depth. We also talked about, touched on financial responsibility and accountability. And that means allowing the people of this community to understand what's going on with their money. How's it being spent? Are we getting a good return on those investments? And I think some of my experience in corporate America can kind of help us dig into that and take a look and evaluate where we're investing our money. And I know it sounds kind of weird to say investing when it comes to our children, but it really is. The last piece is making myself and the board more accessible to our families and our students and our teachers and aides. I want to create an environment where they feel comfortable coming forward and expressing concerns or saying what they think is going well or providing ideas to us on things, ways that we can move in a different direction. And, you know, we touched on the COVID. I think as we go forward, we're finding that the old ways aren't always going to work. And if we can reach out and involve the community, teachers, aides, service personnel, as well as administrators, and those that have more experience, I think together we can kind of chart a new direction for the county and, you know, continue to achieve my goal, which again is success for every child. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming and listening. I don't look forward to spending all tomorrow looking through everything because I think that everybody is going to be just a little overwhelmed. But as a parent, I'd love to see our schools being built. But with my financial background, which for years I worked in finance, I know that we need to be fiscally responsible in doing so. That is paramount for our children's success, because building schools and not being able to fund the activities that go on in those schools, it doesn't make sense. You need to be fiscally responsible. I'd like to make sure that our teachers are taken care of, because they are the ones that teach our students, and they are the ones that have to dedicate their lives to making sure that our kids are taught. And they need to have all the tools that they need and able to succeed. We do need the transparency. I know that people have made comments about being more accessible. I don't find that our school board right now is not accessible. I've been able to go to their online meetings. I've been able to go to their board meetings, and I think that, and they respond to emails. I don't think that there is a divide there, but I would like to see a little bit more transparency. And I hope that, you know, people would like, you know, give me a chance. As a parent of children in the school, I think that I have a lot to offer.
Thank you. Ms. Lochner, you have the final word.
Okay, so keep it short, right? All right. Well, thank you for hosting tonight. And first, I'd like to thank all of the candidates that are out there. The fact that we have so many folks running for this position, you know, we can't lose, right? No matter who wins, because we have passionate people as displayed tonight, and that just is a wonderful place to be. Having been a graduate of Jefferson County Schools and having children that have gone through the school system or still in the school system, I'm certainly invested in it. And I've been very fortunate that I can take all of my professional experiences and my life lessons and give back to this community that I so treasure. So I'd welcome the opportunity to continue to contribute building a premier school system. In this highly competitive tri-state area that we live in, it's not enough for Jefferson County Schools to be top in West Virginia. We need to be a premier school in the nation. So thank you so much.
To voter education. Your interest and commitment is much appreciated, especially the time you took to be trained or in this format to get ready for tonight. Thank you very much. This year, the League of Women Voters is celebrating our 100th anniversary, and I know the early suffragettes would be amazed at the idea of a cyber forum. This video will be available, we hope, tomorrow at the League of Women Voters website, LWVJC.org. And we hope, candidates, that you will promote the availability of this at our website, which also features our earlier forum for the magistrate candidates. Special thanks to the League of Women Voters Board of Directors for participating in many, many, many trial runs of this technology. And a special thanks to Terry Thorson, without whose guidance and technical know-how, this forum would not have been possible. Voters, remember the primary election date is now June 9th, 2020. In-person early voting is scheduled to begin May 27th. And if you choose to vote by absentee ballot, the ballot must be postmarked by June 9th. Thank you, everyone, and stay healthy. And this concludes the forum, and recording will now end. Good night.